Ponta Delgada is the largest municipality and administrative capital of the autonomous region of the Azores in Portugal. It is located on São Miguel Island, the largest and most populous in the archipelago. The population in 2011 was 68,809, in an area of 232.99 km². There are 17,629 residents in the three central civil parishes that comprise the historical city, São Pedro, São Sebastião, and São José. Copyright. Ponta Delgada became the region's administrative capital under the revised constitution of 1976. The judiciary and Catholic see remained in the historical capital of Angra do Heroísmo while the Legislative Assembly of the Azores was established in Horta. History. The origin of the place name was elaborated by the famous Portuguese chronicler, Father Gaspar Frutuoso, wrote, around 1450, Paru de Tave, established a small fishing village that eventually grew into the urban agglomeration in Santa Clara. Populated since 1444, the island of São Miguel was a vast territory, with small settlements scattered about, except for Vila Franca do Campo in the central southern coast, and the smaller community of Ponta Delgada. Vila Franca had for many years been the center of the island economically and socially, and seat of the local government, but many nobles and landed gentry despised its subordinate status to the government in that town. The nobles in Ponta Delgada sent a secret contingent, headed by Fernão Jorge Blau, to meet with King Manuel in Lisbon to petition that the community be emancipated. In a bronze, King Manuel conferred a foral on May 29, 1507, elevating the settlement to the status of village. Then, in 1522 an earthquake and landslide devastated the provincial capital, destroying many of the buildings and killing various people. Ponta Delgada became the only center with an infrastructure to support the Azorean bureaucracy and supplant its important economic links. Quickly, its role changed, and eventually, it was elevated to status of city, during the reign of King Diogo III by decree, dated April 2, 1546. The naval battle of Ponta Delgada took place on July 26, 1582, off the coast, as part of the 1580 Portuguese succession crisis. An Anglo-French corsair expedition sailed against Spain to preserve Portuguese control of the Azores, which had aligned itself with the pretender Antucubnio, prior of Quito, thereby preventing Spanish control. It was during the 19th century that the municipality experienced its greatest boost of economic activity, with the funneling of citrus exports to United Kingdom and the growth of foreign-owned businesses in the historic centre, many of them Jewish merchants after 1818. As with other centres across the archipelago, the town of Ponta Delgada experienced many of the trends common for the period, including the greening of the communities, the construction of many of the ornate homes estates, the clearing of animals from urban spaces, the opening of newer, larger, roadways, the moving of cemeteries to the periphery, and relocation of markets for fish, meat and fruits. Due to these changes, and growth of the mercantile class, Ponta Delgada became the third largest town in Portugal, in economic riches and the number of residents. The poet Brila o Pato, writing of Ponta Delgada, was surprised by the extraordinary riches of the plantation owners, the gentlemen farmers that lived within the urbanized core, exporters of oranges and corn, bankers, investors, industrialists and shippers, all contributing to a privileged class of economic and social thinkers and philanthropists. At the beginning of the 20th century, Ponta Delgada's position was relatively high, although the changing importance of rural economies steadily chipped away at its growth. But, it remained the central place in the economy and hierarchy of the Azorean archipelago. Consequently, it was at the forefront of political change following the Carnation Revolution. In one such event, property owners and right-leaning farmers challenged the civil governor Antucubnio Borges Coutinho, who was responsible, under the direction of the MFA government, to implement land reforms. The Michaelense farmers' protest forced his resignation, and inspired a series of terrorist acts that plunged the Azores into political turmoil. After a clandestine roundup of arrests and detentions by the military governor, The autonomous district of Ponta Delgada was extinguished, along with the other districts on August 22, 1975, with the establishment of the Junta Regional dos or Section Ors, the provisional government that assumed the competencies of the administration during the region's transition to constitutional autonomy. Geography equals physical geography equals. The municipality of Ponta Delgada is one of the larger administrative divisions in the archipelago, extending from the center of the island to the western coast. Ponta Delgada is bordered on the northeast by the municipality of Ribeira Grande, and southeast by relatively new municipality of Lagoa. Geomorphologically, Ponta Delgada covers a volcanic area composed of two structures, the Picos region and Sete Cidades Massif. The Picos region extends from the shadow of the ancient volcano of the Aguada Pau Massif until the area around the Sete Cidades caldera. It is a volcanic axial zone oriented generally in a northwest-southeast direction, essentially defined by several spat cones and lava flows and predominantly covered by dense vegetation and pasture lands. Its relief is relatively planar, especially along the northern and southern coasts, where many of the urban communities are located. The Sete Cidades Massif, the other geomorphological structure that makes up the municipality of Ponta Delgada, consists of a central volcanic caldera and lake-filled cones which surround the crater. It occupies the extreme western part of the island, oriented along a similar northwest-southwest orientation, with many regional radial fractures marked by lava domes and spat cones. The Sete Cidades volcano at the center of the massif consists of a caldera and a paleogenetic volcanic field within it, that includes 4 lakes. The caldera is almost circular and has evolved over the course of 3 phases. The first occurred 36,000 years ago, forming the collapsed principal structure. The second phase conforms to a period approximately 29,000 years ago, when volcanic eruptions collapsed the northwest part of the structure. Finally, the third phase caused the collapse of the north and northeastern portions of the caldera. Geologically, within the last 5,000 years, the central cone has been active and responsible for causing most of the activity in the archipelago, during that period. These geological eruptions were essentially trachyte eruptions of the subplinian or plinian type, with hydromagmatic characteristics. The last eruption, at about 500 years ago, gave rise to the caldera seca cone. Although there has been no historical activity today, its active status continues to be debated by the scientific community. Most recently, its diverse geography includes various types of basaltic volcanism, both effusive and less explosive along its flanks, usually conditioned by local and radial faults. The Mosteiros Graben is also an important feature in this area, representing collapse of lands on the northwestern flank of the caldera. Although there are no active aerial volcanic characteristics, submarine vents around the region of Ponta da Area and the beach at Mosteiros have been identified. Climate the municipality's climate, much like the rest of the Azores, is shaped by the Gulf Stream, allowing a small variation in temperatures, with mean temperatures of 14.1 degrees Celsius in February and 22.1 degrees Celsius in August, typical to a Mediterranean or humid subtropical climate. However, due to high levels of precipitation throughout the year combined with less sunshine, the Azores climate could be rather considered as a lukewarm oceanic climate. The Gulf Stream also contributes to an unstable weather that varies greatly during the autumn and spring, making weather forecasting on a daily basis difficult. Levels of humidity are significant enough that temperatures fluctuations feel comparable to those experienced in locations on similar latitudes. Temperature differences between seasons are much smaller than those expected in continental Portugal, with milder winters and cooler summers than Lisbon. Human geography much like other communities in the archipelago of the Azores, the municipality is shaped by its geography. Most homes are clustered along the regional road network that circles the island, with many ancillary or agricultural access roads bisecting the central portion of the island along a north-south axis. Administratively, the municipality is composed of 24 parishes, that handle development, in the defense of local social, cultural, recreation and environmental concerns. Ajuda da Britana, new rural community, broken off in 2002 from the parish of Britannia, with a population of less than 1,500 inhabitants. Arifes, the largest milk-producing region of the Azores, Arifes' population in 2001 was less than 7,000 inhabitants, concentrated in three areas, Milagas, Piedade, and Sword. Candelaria, 1184 residents lived in this community in 2001, an agricultural zone that is also highly forested. Caplas, often assumed to be the location of many religious sanctuaries, this agricultural community was named for the volcanic structures that populated the coastal areas. Kovoda, annexed from Relva in 1980, it is an agricultural community populated by small lakes, with 1,259 inhabitants. Fajar Pound de Bixo, one of the peripheral suburbs of the city of Ponta Delgada, it is highly concentrated, dense parish with 1,124.2 inhabitants km squared. Fajar Pound de Sima, the northern limits of the city of Ponta Delgada, with a large residential population of 34 inhabitants. Fenes da Luz, the community is primarily located along a plain of productive farmland, its population less than 2,000 residents. Figueiras, a southern coastal community primarily concentrated on farming, with a population of 1,709 inhabitants. Janites, an agricultural and fishing community in the western part of the municipality, there were 1,267 residents living in this parish in 2001. Livramento, also referred to as Rosto do Carpão, it is a continuation of the urbanized area of Ponta Delgada, and home to less than 3,500 residents. Mosteiros, known for the islets, and hydrothermal vents offshore, this is the westernmost parish of 1,196 inhabitants. Pilar da Britannia, annexed in 2002 from the parish of Britannia, this parish includes 750 residents dispersed in the foothills of the Sete Cidades Massif. Relva, known as the location of the international airport, Relva is an important suburb and industrial centre, with 2,703 residents in 2001. Rima Copyright Dios, nestled between Britannia and Santa Barbara, along the northern coast, it is an area of dairy farming, with 997 inhabitants. Santa Barbara, a parish with less than 100 inhabitants, between Santo Anticubnio and Remedios, concentrated on agriculture. Santa Clara, an industrial centre in the city of Ponta Delgada, known for its football club, as the centre of the commercial fishery and manufacturing, as well as the island's fuel deposit. Santo Anticubnio, another agricultural community along the northern coast, whose population in 2001 was more than 2,000 inhabitants. São Paulo José copyright one of the traditional centres of the urbanized core of Ponta Delgada, that includes many of the historical buildings, including Campo de São Paulo Francisco, Church of São Paulo José copyright in the sanctuary of the Convent of Esperança Section A. São Paulo Pedro, a central parish in the city of Ponta Delgada, home to the University of the Azores, the marina, hotels and commercial businesses, and many blocks of apartments along Avenida de João Paulo 3 and Avenida Natalia Correa. São Paulo Rock, also part of the Rosto do Carpão area, it encompasses Ponta Delgada's primary beaches, seaside avenues, as well as the city's municipal stadium and industrial park. São Sebastião, the central bakery of the city, includes all the historical buildings, traditional commercial business, and tourist attractions, including the municipal buildings, Portas da Cidade, Matras Church, Hospital do Divino Espírito Santo and courts. São Paulo Vicente Ferreira, consists of primarily agricultural tracts along the northern coast and population of 1,664 inhabitants. Sete Cidades, located within the crater of the Sete Cidades Massif, the parish is bordered by twin lakes, and considered an ex-layer of the island of São Miguel. Along the southern coast is the urbanized core of the historic village town of Ponta Delgada, which includes the principal civic infrastructures, high-capacity motorways, tourist and cultural attractions, as well as the businesses and government services. The city of Ponta Delgada includes specifically the civil parishes of Santa Clara, São José copyright, São Sebastião and São Pedro, which is divided by the motorways with the urbanized contour of São Cima and São Baixo. Not to be confused with a traditional city, the city of Ponta Delgada has no legal jurisdiction or mayor, but the municipality of Ponta Delgada has an elected official, the President da Câmara Municipal, who administers and Assembleia Municipal, which is the representative council, while dispersed parish councils govern localities that circle the western edge of São Miguel. The urban core includes the Baixa or Lower Town, referring to the historic center of buildings, shops and landmarks that gathered over the centuries around the square of São Sebastião and Persection Agona Section Aluvlo. Immediately around this urban core are the Municipal Hall, the gates to the city and old custom house buildings in front of the main roadway that follows the coast. Other important landmarks include the Portas do Mar, main tower of the Sol Mar Avenida Center Mall and Theatre Michaelense. Economy. In actuality, the municipality of Ponta Delgada presents a glimpse of the divergent economic events that exist in the Azores. With a strong concentration of service activities, the municipality is an important industrial and agricultural center. The Heroísmo Basin is the main breadbasket on the island of São Miguel, in addition to all the parishes located around the rim of the Sete Cidades Massif. In 1999, there were 1039 companies whose operational seat were in Ponta Delgada, 45.4% of the companies of the Azores. Of these companies, 4.4% were in the primary sector, 13.7% in secondary industries and 81.9% in the tertiary service sector. The volume of sales was equivalent to €1,458 million. This value strongly leaned to those service industries that have concentrated their sales volumes in the region, including banking, computer programming services, corporate and commercial services and tourism. It is also the primary location of the services provided by the government, with many of the ministries located in this municipal seat, including the regional presidency and several secretariats. In tourism, Ponta Delgada accounted for 34% the hotel spaces in the region, and 46% of overnight trips. Several newspapers are published in Ponta Delgada, including a Coreano Oriental and the Diario dos Açores. Transport. Served by an international airport in the parish of Relva, the municipality is the principal port of entry for goods entering and people arriving in the Azores. SATA International and SATA Aero Sectionals have their head offices in Ponta Delgada. Near the harbour of Ponta Delgada, a broad-gauge railway was used several times to build and enlarge the harbour. The track used a 7-foot gauge, but it is unclear if this was Isambard Kingdom Brunel 7 feet Brunel gauge. Education. Ponta Delgada is home to the central nucleus of the University of the Azores, a multidisciplinary institution that ranges from courses in tourism, computer engineering, social sciences and business management. From its principal campus in São Pedro, the rectory manages 3 poles spread throughout the Azores, including Horta and Angra do Heroísmo. Culture. Religious. Ponta Delgada is the traditional center of the annual religious celebrations associated with the Feast of the Lord Holy Christ of the Miracles, in the Campo de São Francisco. This venerable feast day occurs the 5th Sunday of Easter, and attracts locals, other member islands, groups from within the Portuguese diaspora and tourists on vacation, as it paralyzes the streets of the city. Associated with the Roman Catholic veneration of a Como representation of Jesus Christ after the Passion that was gifted to the Sisters of the Convent of Calera in the mid-16th century. Since its move to the Convent of Our Lady of Hope, a figure was used in religious processions that wind the streets of the city. The cortege, which includes clergy, politicians and lay folk, is a popular event, attracting both religious and secular participants. Following Pentecosts, many of the parishes within the municipality participate in feasts dedicated to the Holy Spirit. A tradition across the islands of the Azores, the cult of the Holy Spirit dates to medieval traditions, involving promises made to God, the processions of faith to and from the church and feasts of meat broth soup and bread donated to the poor. In comparison to other islands parishes of the Azores, most neighborhoods of São Miguel allow the free participation of visitors, seen as fulfilling the tenets of the tradition, rather than the narrow sub-community of the Brotherhoods of the Holy Spirit. Secular one of the more popular non-religious events is the Noite de Verão, a summer event, normally held in the square of Campo do São Francisco that attracts family, friends and tourists, with many vendors selling food, refreshments or small goods. In addition, this secular festival is highlighted by nightly musical events, from popular Azorian band singers, concert bands, folklore groups and some national-international stars. Starting usually in late June, the nights run until September, and is supported by the municipal government. Sport. In addition to several parks providing green spaces for multiple recreational activities, the city of Ponta Delgada is home to sporting associations and sites for racket sports, organized team and open-air activities. In addition to multiple water sports, such as swimming, surfboard and canoeing kayaking, there are cycling routes and spaces for running walking. As center of tourist activities, visitors to the region have access to tourist companies providing excursions to island trails, all-terrain paths and sea-oriented activities such as diving, sport fishing and boat tours. The home to the Ponta Delgada Football Association, the region has a storied history of football, that includes teams that have made it to the first and second divisions of the National Football League. Among them are Club Desportivo Santa Clara, Clube União Poundo Macallense, and Marítimo da Caleta. International relations. Twin towns are sister cities. Ponta Delgada is twinned with notable citizens, T. Philo Braga, a Portuguese writer, playwright, Republican politician, leader of the Republican Provisional Government, and second President of the Republic. Roberto Ivans, a Portuguese explorer of Africa, geographer, colonial administrator, and an officer of the Portuguese Navy. Antero de Quental, a Portuguese poet, philosopher and writer, whose works became a milestone in the Portuguese language, through his leadership in the Questa Poundo Coimbra movement of the 19th century. Pedro Miguel Carreiro Resendes, OIH, commonly known as Paulita, a footballer and all-time leading goal scorer for the Portuguese national team. Fernandes B. Perry was a successful business entrepreneur, philanthropist and broadcast executive, recipient of the Order of the British Empire, who emigrated to Bermuda with his parents in 1926. See also. References, notes. Sources, Booth, B. Croasdale, R. G. Walker. A Quantitative Study of 5,000 Years of Volcanism on S. Miguel, Azores. Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society, 228 pages 271 euro 319. Fructuoso, G. Saudades da Terra, 1873. Instituto Cultural de Ponta Delgada, Ponta Delgada. Queiroz, G. A Vulca Poundo das Cidades, Histocubed Ria Eruptiva e Avalia Picavolt Poundo do Hazard. Taste de Doutoramento no Ramo de Geologia, Especialidade de Vulcanologia Universidade dos Secciones, Departamento Joshua NCIAS. Pages 226. Queiroz, G. Pacheco, J. M., Gaspar, J. L., Aspinall, W., Guest, J. E., and T. Ferreira. The Last 5,000 Years of Activity at Cidades Volcano, Implications for Hazard Assessment. The Journal of Volcanology and Geothermal Research pages 562 euro 573. Cordeiro, Anticube Nio. Historia Insulana das Ilhas of Portugal Sujetas no Oceano Ocidental 1. Lisbon, Tip do Panorama.